Hey, how's it going? Well, I started talking, I think, before I was rolling. Hey, how's it going? Today has been a really interesting day already. Um, I have a card, blah, blah, blah. I have cards I pulled from early this morning, like in the wee hours of last night, really. And something I like to wait until something happens usually, and I've been kind of under the weather, so I haven't been going out as much and encountering like things outside of my home as much. But I did this morning get up. Oh my goodness, hold on. Get up very early at like 4:30. I started getting dressed to go out for a ride because I hadn't been out in a couple of days, and also because the forecast was for it to be very warm today. Hold on, sorry about that. I just got super nauseous. I have no idea why. Okay, so as I was saying, I pulled some cards, and I like to kind of wait until some events in my life have happened before I read them, because I feel like if I don't, I can still just do the cards, but I just feel like it informs whatever I'm going to talk about. So earlier today, I was not meditating exactly, because there's like active and passive meditation that I practice, but I was definitely in like a contemplative state and just waking up, really. And I was doing breathing, like, deep breathing, and this happens when I meditate a lot. And sometimes I wake up, like I snap out of it, like I've gone from being awake to not awake somehow. And sometimes it feels like I woke up because I felt like I was gonna fall. And then other times, like this time when I was just sitting here in my kitchen, because usually I don't meditate right here. I usually do it so that I'm at least by an open door, if not completely outside. But, I do the breathing just because I want to make it a habit, because there's benefits. It's beneficial to your health, and not just your own health. It turns out this is not an unknown concept, but you're open to more inspiration, to like the small still voice of spirit, if it's going to talk to you, to downloads from like ETs or ascended masters, like whoever's trying to tell you something. If your mind is busy, it's harder for you to be able to hear. And I don't get like just straight conversations. Occasionally something close to that happens, but I have to work a little harder. I don't have like instantaneous yet. Fingers crossed. So anyway, I'm sitting here and I'm breathing, and all of a sudden I just like snap out of it. I'm like, what just happened? And it's not the same as waking up from sleep. This is not what it is, because there's no way to describe it. It sounds too much like waking up from sleep, but I'm telling you, I was not asleep. The reflection on my lenses is driving me crazy, and I actually only have that light on so that you can look at my signs, because I always forget that disclaimer information. So anyway, hold on, I'm gonna turn off that light. Okay, it didn't do anything. Great. Okay, so yeah, I had gone out this morning, and it was probably about 5 when I made it outside finally, or 5:15 a.m. And it was super foggy, and I just got a light, like a headlight, and I've had a tail light, but this, I thought I was just buying a headlight. Turned out I got a headlight and a tail light. What is doing that? Okay. I guess it's the window. Can't turn down the sun. I'm sorry, I'm moving kind of slow here on what I'm trying to say. Please bear with me. You too. Okay, so yeah, so I have a headlight, and I just picked it up from the post office yesterday, and I didn't take it. I didn't need it really, but it would have been probably a good idea to have the headlight and the tail lights attached on the bicycle, but I haven't done that yet, so goals. But it was cool too. There wasn't a lot of traffic. I mean, that's one reason I was out there so early, was because I was on a main boulevard where there's like 18-wheeler traffic and just people driving generally about 15 miles above the speed limit, which would make them, you know, be going about 40 to 45 right next to me because I'm in a bike lane. And, but, you know, I'm listening at all times to jump out of the way. Like, it's not my first bike rodeo. But it was, like, cool and atmospheric, like, and I get to ride by a cemetery on the way, so having, like, the fog. Did I mention that there was fog? There was very thick fog. That's why I was talking about the light. Like, visibility was about 3 car lengths, and that is plenty of time, thankfully, in low traffic for people to see me. And it's weird, like, there's a bubble of clarity that you're in, and then the fog's, like, away from you. But it's definitely a visibility thing. Like, I'm glad there was very little traffic. So anyway, nothing happened, but just the visual of it made impressions, like, makes me think of, I don't think I'm done processing it yet, really. But that is the reason why I like to actually leave the house, because, like I said, it informs whatever I'm going to talk about. And then I just did my regular neighborhood loop, and everybody was asleep, including the dogs, which is fine by me. Ugh. And I was very pleased, and I hope it becomes a trend. But the ramp was partially accessible, so that made me happy. The reason why it matters so much is I have my route and everything plotted a certain way for a reason, because I know my strength and energy is finite, so I want to get the most out of it, and I know how each part of it's going to affect me physically, so that's why I have my route. That's why I take it a certain way. And I was happy that the ramp was, like, available. I mean, it was more than enough for me to get out, and if it keeps being that way, he can park over it all he wants. And that just improved my mood, although I was in a pretty good mood. This was before the thing with the breathing happened, so when I came back in, I read some stuff online and wrote a little bit of stuff and watched some stuff, and I am having a thing right now where I'm interested in what people are saying, like, just not necessarily like big name people, you know, like outside of online presence, and also like broadcast people or like famous people or whatever. I'm just kind of looking at everything, and this has bothered me, I guess, for a long time, and it's that I just don't want to sit there. I guess it's that us and them thing that, you know, I'm not a fan of. There's like things that we get attached to, and then there's someone that's attached to something else, and then that constitutes a problem, something to argue about, you know, and to have this or that be over the other person's this or that. And none of it is like important to like anything. Like it's all kind of set dressing. So getting upset about it, and then like it turns into like, then it gets personal. Then people are calling each other names, but it's become so casual now that like if you say a certain thing, like a certain description of an object or something, it's the type of thing that people immediately know, oh, it's about this person. And it's not like complimentary. And I guess I'm like, it's integration that I'm having to like live the whole like here, let me read something I wrote down. It's kind of like trying to integrate that knowledge of your, now I need the light, birth contract business with like, you know, like, hold on, like you're remembering it and you're putting things together. I'll be back in a second. Wow, that's kind of harsh. Okay, so I wrote this. Today there was a surprising leap in the Schumann resonance. The Gaia frequency, also known as Earth's heartbeat, in the coverage demonstrating the peak. Oh, I see. in the coverage demonstrating the peak, it always looks similar to the type of thing we might see in a medical situation, like when we get our brains and hearts measured. EEG and EKG, I believe. Those might both be for the heart, but you get my point. You can see it on the screen, or it'll like give you like a little paper printed out, like a sort of like on a graph of measurements. Anyway, a horizontal line that throbs or pulses in a regular way. At some point earlier, I felt something unusual, and so when I caught a Galactic Federation of Light transmission on video, like a video, detailing a strong pulse that manifested as a vertical line far and above the regular zigzag type reading. I didn't finish the sentence. Well, it made me think of that moment when I was sitting right here and I knew I was just breathing, and then I don't even know, it must have been a very brief amount of time, but I don't know because I didn't have a clock readily visible how long it was between just sitting there and then all of a sudden snapping out of it, kind of, that I talked about. The GFL, Galactic Federation of Light video, was to announce the spike in the Schumann resonance. I've been consciously breathing more and more lately because it's almost effortless. It's an almost effortless way to help the collective assimilate the solar and other input from off-planet that's coming in from multiple sources and species. Sorry, these glasses are new and they're stronger and they do help, but man, my sight just blurs completely out. I don't know what's happening. I guess it's an adjustment. I guess it's assimilating. My eyes are assimilating the new prescription. Sorry, I'm getting easily sidetracked today. Where was I? Species few of us as of yet have encountered, at least in an accepting way, a way not colored, shaded really, the way we think of ETs. There's been a whole long-playing propaganda campaign to paint them as scary, dangerous, and hungry to snack on us, we Earthlings. The truth couldn't be further from that conditioning. They are coming in peace and love. Their influence is to inspire and remind us that we are essentially the same. It is loving of them to help remind us who we are. Especially when we're like, shoot them down! Like, how ungrateful, but we don't really realize it. Conditioning is like hardcore. A lot of us have been awakening to the idea of there being something to awaken to. For me, it's come in waves, and the better and understanding and recollection I get with each one. The spike that the emissary discussed was the result of more people's consciousness and elevated vibrational output. Oh, cool. They spoke of being present. They spoke of withdrawing from content that invests too much time in us versus them energy. It spoke of the various forms people are taking to shed attachment to seeking solutions from exterior sources. There's much power in intention that's not self-centered. There's so much power in surrender, in letting go of the need for control, in our personal lives and in the greater world. I know it may not sound like it, but even the deeds that seem like the tiniest and inconsequential can be more impactful than we ever think at first. Than we ever think, period, at first, until we begin to see the effects, period. The thoughts we have, or something we do quietly and unseen, end up helping can be massive. Let me try that again. The thoughts we have, or something we do quietly and unseen that can end up helping, can be massive. Also, we may never be aware that we did something unknowingly that ends up being a big effing deal. You just gotta trust. It was the result of a plurality of lightworkers simultaneously working their craft in whichever way, and faith in the performance of whatever they were doing would do good for the greater good. That was quite a sentence. We raised the planet's vibration. Okay, yet another reason to keep doing what we're doing, fellow ground crew. The wave I feel like I'm currently being washed over by seems to be another level of tuning my vibration. Tuning it and staying in tune for longer each time. We did that. So I felt like when I was writing that was pretty unclear. And that was before I got nauseous and like stopped to self-medicate, because now I'm kind of loopy. Anyway, all of that stuff happened before I pulled these cards, so just keep that in mind. So I have some cards from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck. Oh, but I think I need to do these first. So I've been pulling like a single card from my new Body Oracle deck, but two came out, and this one really spoke to me, but it was Skin, and the subtitle is Discern. Relate to others without losing yourself. And I felt like that meant, like, don't get sucked into that us and them thing, because without whatever you're sort of debating about, are you gonna, okay, I don't know what's up with the light situation, but anyway, if you get sucked into like whatever the thing is that you're debating about, I mean, whatever it is, I bet could be gone tomorrow. Like, something could happen and it would just be obsolete. Like, no more like that thing, whatever it was. So, that's actually like the real landscape, but then we get all sucked into that and we get thin skin. And then, you know, if we're not like doing our sort of, what's the word? Really like self-love and, you know, just maintaining that balance in ourselves and remaining present and not getting sucked into something like it's not even really real. But so yeah, the thin skin, like I for a while I've been like against the going personal, you know, when you're talking about something. But I mean, I get the impulse to do it too, but I have been really, I'm not saying that I don't have names and stuff, but I just try to keep it to myself as much as possible, because it doesn't help when you introduce that, you know. And I don't want to talk about like why it happens, or it's like a defense of this, that, or the other thing. I'm just like, let's just try to avoid doing that. Like, can we skip that whole part? And so the other card that came out was the Brain. And the subtitle on this one is Contemplate. Think things through, but only just enough. I have known like all day that that's what this says on here, but I have not had a moment to, you know, like sort of follow the advice. But you know what? That's probably good, because it has prevented me from thinking things further than just enough through. Like, sometimes the gist is good. Okay, so I pulled some other cards from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, and the last reading I did on here, I accidentally just started going like in the opposite direction, like backwards. And so I kind of, these cards have been like sort of moved around this area that they're kept, and I've had to like, I've had them laid out and then stacked up and laid out and stacked up. So I wanted, you know, like my impulse is to go with like the first. Did you just stop? No, sorry. Anyway, like the first way I put it, like forward, but then when I was preparing to do this, and I was gonna start, and then I had to stop because I needed to wait for stuff to charge, and so I was again stacking them up, and then I started like looking at them, like, what do I actually have here? And I realized I was looking at them in backwards order again, so it kind of worked either way. But the first way forward that I put them down is what I decided to go with. So here's this card. Boy, have I been getting this a lot. What I'm getting today from it is like, we have everything we need for like a new future. We have the keys right there. There's like all of the information, all of the good intent. Like, that looks actually very violet ray, which is like, if you know about like Saint Germain and the violet ray, you know, a lot of times the violet ray comes up in situations that benefit like large groups of people, like in a helpful, good way. And I know that I have just the feeling that, you know, I know that things eventually come to an end, like cycles end. And we don't have like 100 years of war anymore type situations just because of, you know, progress. But we have found other new ways to do similar things, and so a transition, like, people want things to be different, and then there's people that would prefer things to stay the way they are, or revert a whole lot. And it has people kind of stressed out because they don't want to go back to certain of these things. And that is something to not, like, latch on to, you know, like, not let it get under our skin, because if we do, in a way that, like, helps them. And so what we want is, to protect what we have planned for the future. And so, you know, it's kind of like what I was saying about the ETs. They would like to come down and help. They would like to meet us in person, but they know we're not ready for that yet. Like, they know better than, like, they're older, they live longer, they know how people work better than we do ourselves. But I agree, I don't think we're ready yet. So that's like, they're protecting their own future, which is our shared future, by the way. This is what I've come to feel to be a true thing. So, we have the keys to a bright new future that's going to be prosperous and joyful for everyone. And so the subtitle on this card is Protecting the Future. Okay, next card is Eye of the Needle. And the subtitle is Intentionality. So probably people are familiar with the concept of the rich man not being able to get through the eye of the needle. I think it also known as heaven in this case, because they're trying to drag like all kinds of life baggage in there with them, and that is, I guess, well, not possible, because if you look at all the Egyptians with their stuff just there, and like the poor cat's carcass, and you know, it didn't go with them. And also, you don't even need that once you've sort of left this realm. The subtitle on this is Intentionality, and it's like, in order to, like, get through the needle, if that's what you're aiming to do, like, if that's the goal, the ultimate goal, and it is, whether you've come to the realization or not, it is, I guess, in my opinion. But you have to go through some changes, like impelled, like, reflection, and coming to understand yourself and the world. You know, the world we live in has got so many layers going on, and it's almost like you have to make all these leaps to even realize that that's a thing. Like, oh wait, so what I'm looking at, okay, it feels wrong, but it says the right thing. you know, at some point you stop accepting that, and that's like taking a leap, or, you know, a wave of perception washing you clean of a layer that was, you know, making your vision impaired, like not letting you see what was the real situation that you are actually in. And then once you start doing that, you start to look at yourself differently, I think, and you're like, oh wait, am I the energy vampire? I've had that thought lately. But you might ask yourself questions like that, or something, you know. But it'll help you if your goal is to get through the needle without a bunch of stuff that's not going to fit through that aperture. And really, like, just the idea of taking stuff with you. You get rid of that, and I think that goes a long way. Like, again, the dead Egyptians with all their belongings hanging around. So, yeah. Okay, the next card is Moon Maiden. And the subtitle on this one is New Beginnings. You know, I looked at this and thought, like, Birth of a Planet. Well, first I thought, I don't know which came first, but Birth of a Nation came to mind, and I was like, ick. But, you know, we're kind of heading into an era where that was like, yeah, man, cool. Let's go to a lynch picnic. And that is not a beginning. That's it's retroactive for sure. And it's, wow. In the present, I feel like it has no place. But, you know, what I was saying and what I read, these things, for me, it comes in waves. You might describe it as a different type of progression, but stages, steps, levels, degrees, whatever you want to call it, I don't think you, like, easily skip through all of the, like, grades. And I guess that has a lot to do with, like, why we'll have like a repeated experience over and over, and we feel like the same thing is happening over and over. And that's sort of true, but in another way, what's also happening is like you're learning something. Like, it's one little sliver of the whole experience is a change. And then if it's something like, I don't know what would constitute, what would make something like have more importance than not. But I think we encounter that, and part of it is like, yes, it's something we're doing or not doing, but I see now at the point where I'm at that like consciousness and the level and like being able to tune your vibration, like learning how to control that more than like, you know, controlling your temper, because it's deeper than that. It's the immediate thing I always say myself and other places that have these teachings that I watch a lot say, it's that thing where you walk into a room and it's like the air pressure changes, or you notice that there's something, like I've walked into a few rooms and said, you know, like conversation stops and you're just all, me, I was like, who died? And I had to stop asking that because a couple of times someone had, and it was, you know, not the right thing to say. I'm still on this card. Where did I go? Why am I talking about all that stuff? Each new realization, like each time you relive an experience, you know, maybe it's a combination of like the things I mentioned and more that is why you are repeating it. And so I'm trying to, like I said, integrate like the pre-birth contract thing with my real life, and so I have had that experience of like having, like, oh my gosh, not this again. I don't want to get specific. But it did start to change when I started to change. And that takes, like I said, like work. Like you have to do a lot of self-help. I mean, you can get other help from outside, but kind of with this stuff especially, the point is to find that within yourself. Because we know from, those times we end up in like extreme situations where we're sort of forced to make a decision that would move us out of our comfort zone to do something we normally wouldn't, but for like a good reason. So we have that in us, and we really don't need to be flailing around outside of ourselves for approval or validation. I'm not saying like we shouldn't and can't do that. I'm just saying we should make ourselves and our inner selves and locating that sort of stuff within more our concern. But each time that happens, the experience that you're repeating is a new beginning. And I definitely associate the moon with sort of not having the complete picture. And I feel like that's what happens every time. It's like snapshots. Think that makes sense? So the next card is the Cosmic Womb, Divine Feminine, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but I just have found that the dragon and the Divine Feminine are more closely linked than we realize, and we have had our perceptions of both of those. Like the Divine Feminine has been made almost invisible, the idea of that archetype. And dragons have been made evil when, not always, like sometimes they're portrayed as protectors, but it's even more than that. It's like the embodiment of a spirit that we have, all of us, in ourselves. Just we need to awaken it. So that's, again, going within and like doing your dragon quest, you're on your fool's journey and going through those stages, and it's all taking place inside of you. And the dragon is maybe like even inside of yourself, not really outside of yourself. It's like a tool for ourselves to guide ourselves and to gain wisdom from, like to help us be able to harvest the wisdom to bring in and process ourselves. Okay? And unclear and unformed because it's still at a pre-embryonic stage, if we're talking about like the whole collective, which that would be a conversation about the temperature of us. And so the final card is Repairing the Veil, and the subtitle is Forgiveness. And so much can be achieved. Forgiveness has to start within, because then it gives us the strength to go out in the world and, function in a place where forgiveness, especially lately, is not easily given. And there's everyone's noticed that like cruelty is like the latest affectation, I guess, to have, and it's multi-generational. It's, to me, like, I'm so sad that the young people that are coming into adulthood and will be like running stuff are so like mean and hateful. But what the heck? That just felt like I had like hair or a spider web in my mouth. Was somebody trying to touch my tongue? That was weird. You know what's even stranger is it felt like this stuff, I don't know if you can see it, this weird filament. Get on the right side of the card. Ah, these glasses are messing me up. So, I don't know if you can see right there, there's like these little white filaments. And they sort of look like cobwebs, but it could be like spirit energy, like, I don't even know. But anyway, it just felt like that was in my mouth. So that's weird. I like to go in the pictures, but wow. Anyway, this just, it doesn't look terrible. Nothing's torn. Like, everything's actually, doesn't even really need repair. It just needs to be brought together. So, okay. I wondered why this was significant when I was doing it. So on my board here, that is a bunch of 2s, because I had putting 2 and 2 together on my mind. And then right here is the actual temperature, and I know it's probably hard to read, but it says waiting to be put together. And look at it, it's get her. To get her. And I already forgot why that was. Okay, I feel like I showed you that for nothing, because I was like latching on to get her. Who? Me? You? Or together? You know, it's up to us to bring us together, because we have certainly created a division and hardened ourselves, calloused our skins between each other. But hey, that's what we get to fix. That's what we get to work out. But, you know, again, let me reiterate, not every way to do that is to go charging out and doing something big and loud. There's all kinds of ways to approach dealing with a solution. I have a cold. I'm gonna go. Thank you and good night.